Well, hello and welcome. Today we will be exploring a lot of things planty, emptying old pots, planting up new plants, chopping up ones that have been growing for a year, going over what a node is, how to propagate it, how to make more plants out of the ones that you already have. Alright. So this is the Monstera siltipicanica. It's got a beautiful blue leaf, greenish, silver, something. Changes as it matures. Develops fenestrations if you get it to grow tall enough. I believe this one is a snow queen, something like that. It's a type of pothos. I've been growing this one for about 2.5 years. Decided I want more of it. And then I'm pretty sure if you're watching this planty video, you probably know all about this one, the Monstera addisoni. I moved in, it started stretching for light. So we're gonna try to chop this one up and see what we can do with it. Let's see if the camera will focus. It just did not, it was not happy where I moved it. Alright, the plant just really went down. So we're gonna chop this one up, cut off these leaves, and hopefully try to propagate them from wet sticks. If you don't know what wet sticks are, they're just plant nodes without leaves. And we'll show you what those are. If you don't know what a node is, we'll show you what that is. Right, and then this one is a Cebu Blue. I hear this one can develop fenestrations as well if you can get it to grow up a moss pole or a plank. Alright, let's start with this one. All of these ones back. We'll start with this one because of the way it looks and how to be a wet stick. So it looks really flimsy right here. I might have left it a little bit too long. So we're just gonna go ahead and chop that. Let me go grab my scissors. I didn't even come over here with my scissors. So this little area where the roots are growing out of, that is a node. So we're just gonna chop that one all the way back to the next one. Right. Just chop that leaf off. Gonna go all the way down. Next one. Chop that leaf off. Next one. And I watched a video on YouTube a long time ago. It does matter to have the longer one. It does improve with the amount of energy that the plant is able to produce into the node. And it actually does make a difference. Since these two have nice leaves, it doesn't really matter how much you leave there. gonna go ahead and cut the excess off up here. Alright. And we've got 2, 3, 4 potentially new plants of the same one, just from that one vine. But I really love this plant. So since this one's doing well, and it's a small one, same thing. Well, guess we're gonna try to go for that one as well. We're gonna leave that one with 2 nodes. So we're just gonna shorten it down. Let's see here. Let's try to add a light. Maybe that'll help. There's a little tiny nub right there. And that's the one that we're just gonna trim it down to, so just above that line. Turn the light off. And this last one we'll leave as a 2-leaf. Just like that. I've got a couple of these pots, so these ones I'm just gonna throw off to the side. It's actually what's in here, this right here. I'm gonna show you what it'll look like after it's been propagated in water. And then and I'll turn the light on. Same thing, we're just going to go down to the bottom node. And all of these plants absolutely love to climb. I'm doing a lot of aeroids plants. I tend to have more of those than anything else. And they love climbing planks, they love climbing moss poles. They love climbing just random pieces of wood, the wall if you have it. I have one growing in the bathroom that it's a pothos, and the leaves are probably 4 times this size right here. I might include some pictures if I have time, maybe if I remember while I'm editing this. And usually we just take it down. Right, all the way down to right there. You can actually see that little bulge right there. That is where the new plant growth is going to be, where the new stem. They call that an auxiliary point. Right? If I flip it over to this side, you'll see how it definitely does not have that growing out. So this plant hopefully will push off a new leaf sooner than the rest at this point. So we're going to cut and be careful not to cut that part off. we don't need all of this extra on here for this plant. Only when we're doing wet sticks does it make more of a difference. And then these ones are unfurling. This one's not gonna make it, this one's not gonna make it, and we'll be surprised if that one does. So we're just gonna go ahead and boop, chop that off, bring it all the way down to right there, and then I don't know. Yep. We're gonna chop this one, and then we're gonna make this into a wet stick, or well, it's gonna try to keep that leaf. We'll see what happens. Nope. Wet stick. Last and not least, this is actually one of the first plants that I got in my plant journey, in my little plant adventure. I drove like 45 minutes across town during rush hour to get it, and it was not the person I talked to, it was the one who came like to bring it. Or I think it was like their partner, their husband. They met at a 7-Eleven. But my goodness, look at the variegation on this plant. It is absolutely beautiful, and I've not had it like under any grow lights. I haven't had it in the direct sunlight. I've just been using a regular old lamp, regular like house lamp. It's one of my favorites. I just wanted to show you guys like the detail and like the structure. Let's see. I'll try to insert some of the video, like pictures of the less mature part. Okay. Time to start cutting. Again, with the last, when it comes down to like the last 3 leaves, I just snip off the top, and then these 2 will grow just like that. Again, just look at the variegation of these leaves. I know everybody gets so impressed over the Albo and the Prince Andrew and the Philodendron Pink Princess. And don't get me wrong, I've had them too, and I do have them. But just this one in itself is so impressive. Alright, and that is all of the plants that I have to cut up today. We are going to go ahead and pull out a little rooting hormone that I got from like Walmart. A couple dollars, garden safe. and we're just gonna dip it in there, right? And we're gonna coat both sides that have been cut, right? Top, we're gonna shake it off, make sure the bottom's been coated, right? And when I cut these yesterday, I like to give the plants like an entire day after cutting it, so they're probably gonna go another day before they actually go into water. But that's just me personally, and I took these cuttings right after watering them. I would not recommend doing it when the plants need water. The new year just started. I don't know if that's what inspired me to do it. I highly doubt that it hasn't really mattered when I've taken the cuttings. You might get them. It's really just like a matter of environment and where you place them at. I found that in the kitchen tends to get the best humidity, the best lighting, and like the best conditions to sprout roots. I've had plants in there sprout roots faster than I've had plants sprout in other areas. And like it's the same plant, and like it took an entire year. So this one is gonna be a little hard because it doesn't want to go in. We'll probably just dump some onto the lid, right? And then boop, just like that. So we're just trying to make sure that both sides of the open wound, if you will, has been coated in the powder. This stuff gets everywhere. Everywhere. I'm not finished. And I've had this jar for more than a year now. I've taken lots of plants and lots of cuttings. And if you don't have any rooting hormone, it doesn't matter. I didn't have any when I first started. But if you have access to it, if you're able to get it, I would highly recommend it. So what are your guys' favorite plants? What makes you happy? What are some of your wish list plants? Which ones are you thinking about propagating? Let me know in the comments. I'd appreciate it. I'd love to respond to everybody. Okay, and so when it comes to the plant, when like you chopped it up, let's say you forgot which side was up, which way the plant was supposed to be growing, which way was the bottom, which way was the top. Right? Some people like to cut it at a certain angle on the top, that way they know which one it is. But the easiest way to tell is that the leaf will always be growing up, right? So it will be coming out this way, which makes this side the top, right? If we were holding it this way and the leaf was growing out this way, the plant was like the closest part to the soil is going to be where the leaf came from, right? So the leaf grows out, and that makes this side the top. I hope that makes sense. We are almost finished. We've just got 2 more sets of plants to do. This one's really soft. I think this is a brand new leaf in that it has not hardened off yet. Or I waited just a little bit too long. And sometimes they start to grow a little interesting when you have them vining and they start stretching. And this is the wet stick. We'll just throw this into like a pot with moss or into like a container, Tupperware, with a wee bit of dirt and make sure that it's slightly moist. So again, with all of these aeroids, we're just coating the bottom and coating the top. And these plants are a lot more resilient than people make them out to be. I used to work with plants quite a bit in a few different departments, and all I could really say about them is they are stronger than we are. And I'm sure by now you're probably wondering, what type of soil are you going to use after you've got these all propagated? Well, I definitely will get to that here shortly with the next project after I am done. Yeah. Sometimes it's okay to use your hand, sometimes it's not. I damaged it right here. We'll hope it recovers. And the reason why we don't want to throw these in the water right away is because the plant's not going to know to stop taking up water, and it's going to start to rot, and it's going to just leave the plant open for all kinds of havoc. And then all of your plants will die. It's not the best results. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes some plants can just be cut and throw right into the water. And this is all our little extra trimmings. Let's see. Ta-da! Extra trimmings. Okay. So, over here, we have the philodendron heartleaf. It's the velvet one. Philodendron mica. Right. It's just so velvety. The underside is red for the most part. Oh my goodness. I was really in love with this plant, and I absolutely had to have more. Right. And then this one's the Cebu blue. And with these philodendrons, it's really hard to tell which is which at the bottom. A lot of philodendrons tend to look exactly the same when they're baby plants. Alright, here we go. We're going to take this out, place it into here, and try to separate them one by one. That's a little tiny thing. It's still alive and it's starting to push out a leaf. So we're just going to throw that right back in the water. So these are the roots. Right. So this is the funnest part when you plant all kinds of stuff into one vase. You get to sort out the roots. And with the power of movie magic, nothing. My goodness, look at the size of this root off of the one. My golly. It started developing secondary roots. So that one's going to be beautiful. That's the philodendron Cebu blue. I don't really remember what classification this plant is. I just know it's a Cebu blue. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. The philodendron micin. Its baby leaves. Right? Its roots are long enough for me. The secondary, like the new vine, has even started developing roots on it. So I think that's a clear indication it's ready to go into soil. So the type of soil that you're going to want to use for all of these aeroids is a very chunky mix. You're going to want to use something with a lot of roots. Not a lot of roots. There's a word I'm looking for. Wood chips. You're going to use a lot of wood chips. I use orchid bark specifically. I use orchid bark, and then I use perlite. I like to use the perlite that has a little bit of nutrients in it already. It's got like Miracle Grow. It's like a Miracle Grow mix into the perlite. So back to the nodes, right? The camera will focus. Right? The roots came out from right there, and the new plant came out from there. And then this one's gonna grow into a tallow giant mother plant. And that's how plants work. Every once in a while, though, they'll flower. Not these ones. I think I was doing research, and the last philodendron that had flowered, or not philodendron, pothos, the everyday house plant that you see everywhere, the last one to flower in the wild was like over 90 years ago. So I do about 40% wood chips from the orchid bark. Do about 20% perlite, and then the rest is dirt. I like to use a really chunky mix, really airy. So this one's gonna go back into the water because there's nothing on it. I mean, it's got some new growth, but it can still use some time to grow, along with this one too. And all of these were taken at the same day, so it just goes to show that you can have some plants with like 4 or 5 inch roots, and then you can have some of them that only grew like 3 centimeters. Every plant has their day. They'll all have their moment in the sun. So I'm gonna pot these two together. Okay. So here's another mess of plants that I put in one pot, and I've got to like separate the roots. So the reason why I put all of the plants in the same pots together, or in the same vases at least, is because I heard that pothos have natural like chemicals released in their roots in water that promote the growth of other roots in other plants. So in other words, if you have some pothos in any plant that you're trying to propagate, you'll have a lot better chance of doing it. So this one is a Monstera addisoni wideleaf, and this one is a Scindapsus jade. Started developing a little bit of variegation to it, so I chopped it back. And I've been waiting for new growth to come onto it. But the roots are extremely massive, so I think it might be time to pot it up. Just gotta separate it. And then sometimes with this little clay pebble, the root will actually grow into it. Okay. So a lot of these are just going to be potted into the same pot. Just about everything is going to be potted in the same pot. And then these over here, these are ZZ Ravens. These are one of my favorite plants as well, because my goodness, look at the color on them. Like, just wow. And yes, these are real. These are real plants. This is the roots growing off of it. It's a tuberous plant. Oh, look at that one. If it'll ever focus. Looks like a little Rogu's baby. Those ones will be ready to pot up in another day, another video, another time, another day. So my auntie gave me all these vases recently, all of these ones, right? And this, I think this is the real reason why I wanted to cut all the plants, is so that I can start using them. I think they're just mole bottles, you know, chicken mole. And then these two cups are meant to go with a pitcher, probably for lemonade from some time lost forgotten. Maybe this one too. I don't know, but it's a different color, so probably not. The reason why I pulled these out is because I want to use the cardboard inside. Alright. Ta-da! I'm just gonna... This was onions or chives. I can't really remember. And there might be seeds in there. I don't know. That's a ZZ plant. I guess I thought to myself, I will find it when it grows. You ever just throw things in a pot and forget about it, and then it never grows? I don't know if this is a raven or just a regular one. It'd be nice if it was a regular one because I don't think I have one of those. We're just gonna throw this in water and like rehydrate it for the day. And I'm just reusing this dirt. I didn't really use it that much. And then I've got fish tank, and I use their poop water. I use their poop water, and I water my plants with it. So I'm not really too worried about any nutrients that's not in there because it will have some added. Right? So when it comes to potting it, we're just gonna fill up like that much. You know, not too much. Less than 2/3 of the pot. Right. Yeah. And when I don't have enough stuff to like make it aeroid, I use leca, which is like expanded clay pebbles. A lot of people use them for anything and everything. I use them for anything and everything. Right. I think that's about good enough dirt. Let's see, what are we going to put into here? We are going to do the Cebu blue. Alright. Just gonna have that sitting like that. And throw that one like that. And we're also gonna add this guy to it. This is a really, really slow grower. This anything in the Scadapsis family, as far as I've like seen and had and do have. It's like the slowest growing plant. I think I like the way that looks. Those will all be able to like grow up a plank or something. We're gonna add this one too. And I know what you're thinking, like this guy's crazy. He's putting like all these plants together in the same pot. But trust me, it works out in the end. It looks beautiful. It looks amazing. I feel more people should do this. I can't wait until shops start putting plants like this together. Look at all those roots. They're all loving it. We'll give a little tap, tap, tap. Alright. A little pack. And then because we are transferring this straight from like water to dirt, we're gonna like soak this. We are going to soak this. We don't want it to look like a swamp in there, and like it's a high reason why we use like an aeroid mix. Very like it drains a lot. And then we're gonna let this run under the water for like 5 minutes. Not really, we're gonna just sit it in water so that it can absorb. The dirt's kind of dry. It needs to be rehydrated. A lot of people like to rehydrate their dirt before working with it, but I don't like the mess. Alright, same thing with this one. It's just a nursery pot. I like to reuse the nursery pots. Pots are so expensive nowadays. Life is expensive nowadays. And to everybody here, thank you for watching my video. Thank you for staying tuned for so long. Ta-da! Nursery pot. We're just gonna fill it up like, you know, about 1/3 of the way. We want a decent amount of space for the for the roots to grow into. I'm actually gonna go ahead and add a bit more. We probably should have, you know what, actually it is what we're gonna do. I was gonna switch pots, but I'm lazy and I don't want to do that. And okay, and so when you're doing these pots, right? The biggest mistake I made was not being cautious about this line right here, not like looking at it, not using it as a point of reference. You definitely don't want to fill up the pot more than this line so that you can, like, that way there's no overflow when you go to water it. I would constantly have pots that just weren't able to get water inside of it because I just had too much dirt in it, and every time I'd go to water it, it would just overflow. It's not a fun time. Now we have a potted plant. And 2, 3. In about 2-3 months, maybe more, maybe less, depending on the lighting situation, these plants over here, right, all of these plants will hopefully be about as long as this plant, right? And this is just like the end goal, right, is to have a nice, like, lush, beautiful looking plant. Or you can do what I like to do and just grow out one stem at a time in one pot. I've noticed that the plants really love to grow as one stem in each pot. But if you don't have that much space like I do, we can throw them all into the same pot. And I will show you right now what it looks like with the planter that has more than one type of plant in it. Okay. Right, so this is the plant, the mother plant that I cut for the Monstera. Alright, she was doing so beautifully, and then I moved her closer to this plank, and she just crawled that way. The Mandula. Alright. So here's the Cebu Blue. Don't you just love the way the plants grow? Look at that. So beautiful. Alright. Monstera siltipiconica, the heart leaf. Alright. The Addisoni. And guess what's back down in there? Right. That is a ZZ plant. A good old-fashioned ZZ plant. And it's just living in there, enjoying its best life. Hasn't done much. But it's living. It's happy. Right? I mean, look at that planter. You could barely see it. Alright, this is another one of the Silticonicas, or no, Scindapsus. This is Scindapsus trubii moonlight. Gosh, this thing's been growing for like 3 years, maybe 2.5 years. Finally started doing this. Who knows what happened. Alright, and we are back over to this little station. This is one of my favorite plants. I've had like 3 or 5. I don't know. I've got a lot of them around the house, and I'm going to have some more. Alright. Let's move this little cup here. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna water them. Right. We're gonna be a little gentle, that way we don't disturb it. We don't want the plants moving around too much. And we're gonna make sure that this stays relatively moist for the next 2 weeks. That way it can acclimate to being in soil from the water. And the acclimation, what that means is that it's just gonna go through shock. It's gonna go through shock. It's saying, what are you doing to me? I was in water. I was enjoying this water, and now I can't breathe. Right? Well, it's saying I'm getting air from this soil. So it's gotta adapt its roots to the soil. And that's what the acclimation process is. And I just use this bucket, that way the water can be reabsorbed. We're just going to leave those like that for probably 5 minutes. We don't want the soil sopping wet like as if it's pond. And I do believe that concludes today's video. If you would like a dry showing, like, we'll just get a regular size cup, well, not regular, like a shot glass size cup. And what we'll do, once these have dried and hardened off, you could wait a couple hours, you could wait a day, and we're just gonna put, say, 4 of these cuttings, right? 4 of these cuttings in a jar. And these leaves are so beautiful, you can just place it on your dinner table. You can make it a little centerpiece. You can put it on your windowsill. I would just highly recommend not putting it in direct light. Alright, we'll grab another one. Since that one just sinks into the bottom, we'll probably add this to that one down there. This one's actually a bigger cup, so we'll probably just put all of them in here. Alright, and just be careful to watch the water levels, especially when they're this close to the top of the cup. They can run out of the water rather fast, and days can go by and you won't even notice, and then you'll come back and your plants are all dry, and it's not a fun time. You see? It's just, it can look rather beautiful. And then like 2 months, 2 weeks, 2 days, plants really don't have an accurate time frame for when they'll shoot out roots and when they'll be ready to plant into dirt and soil. Right. So, like, the most important thing when it comes to putting all of these together is not to overcrowd one vase. When I first started with my plant adventure, I had like 30 nodes from Apothos, and I had nobody to guide me. Not really, I had somebody guide me, but I didn't really listen. Nobody really listens when you're starting to do what you're doing. And I shoved like 15 nodes into a jar like this big, and like probably 10 of the nodes died. They all rotted away. There was no space for it to breathe. It was not a happy camper. It was not a happy camper. Alright, and then just gonna throw these in upside down. I left this leaf on there. I have to pull that off. And I am throwing these in upside down. Alright, we'll probably add this to this pot, just because they're about the same length when it comes to hanging inside of the pot. See, they're all about the same length inside. So they'll all require the same like level of water. And this one, I'll probably throw this into another jar that I have with just water in it, and then forget about it entirely. And then when I go to water that plant, I'll be like, whoa, there's other things in there. And then tomorrow when I wake up, I will just fill these vases with water. I'll place them in my kitchen, and then I will wait until they all start sprouting roots, and then I will repeat the process of planting them up and maybe cutting up some more plants. Thank you again for watching, and I appreciate you all staying tuned this long. I'll show you the pots and the plants and everything again. The end result of what we're really looking for. Thank you for... I stuttered a lot. I did a lot of things. I'm probably gonna cut this out. I'm gonna pause it and stop it right now.